Hi guys, today is the 5th of January 2020 and it's 44 minutes past 1 in the morning over here in the UK. This interpretation is still a bit jumbled up in my mind, so please bear with me if it slightly doesn't make sense. I'm still kind of working on it as I'm speaking, but I think there may be a warning to put out potentially for the UK or for a UK territory in association with the 5th of January. I've got the apple in this scene, which obviously, as I referenced in the previous video, could connect to Mike Pompeo and something happening to him. However, I'm looking at this as the other interpretation I've got for it right at the moment, which is the Italian volcano, possibly Mount Etna, possibly Stromboli. If that erupts and splits off, we've got the potential for a tsunami. We've got the Big Ben Tower down here, and heading towards that in the full video, you can see a snowdrift, and to me it looks like a frozen tsunami wave, indicating potentially a tsunami for the UK. But as I say, it could be a UK territory rather than the UK itself. In this image here, we've got the woman, and in the background the mountain, the explosion on top, which also looks like a volcano erupting, as well as other things, but one of them is a volcano erupting. Down here you can see what looks like a flowing snow pile, which suggests moving water, again potentially referencing a tsunami in that region. Let me just go to the map very quickly. If we do have a quick look at the map, you can see in that region, here's Italy. Mount Etna is on this island just here, which is right next to the country, which is shaped like a boot. In the iPad Go 2 video, this would be Obama's foot, this would be the apple, the volcano would be on the apple. If that was to erupt and split off, it would cause a tsunami in the Mediterranean Sea area, and one of the countries that surround the Mediterranean Sea is Egypt, of course Israel as well. They put up tsunami warnings along their beaches, so they are prepared for, well, have been preparing for that potential event, a tsunami in that region. And obviously Mount Etna is one of those possible causes. Now going back to this image here, if that all connects, then you wonder how could that reach the UK, because obviously the UK is like on the other side of France here, so tsunami coming out, even if it went out through this little gap here, it would not very likely, flood the UK in that way. Well, I guess depending on how big it was, but it definitely wouldn't cross over Spain, cross over France to get to the UK. So I had to think differently. Perhaps it's a UK territory, and I've spoken about this one before, Gibraltar, which is right on the tip in that gap where a tsunami wave would flood out. Potentially, there's obviously been disputes over the island as well. I think it was last year, or maybe it was late in 2018. However, the disputes over Gibraltar, the British territory, have been quite prevalent and well known in the news. So perhaps that's maybe an indication that there could be other events that could unfold in that region and take out a British territory. Again, in this scene, I've got the Obama shoe, which is again connected to the apple, as you can see just there. But the Obama shoe is also standing on top of the pound coin, another well-recognized symbol for the UK, as well as Big Ben, if that is Big Ben, I think it is. So again, his foot is only covering a partial part of the pound coin, which suggests a part of the UK. Whether that's the UK currency or whether that's the UK in general, can't be entirely sure. Obviously, if something happened to Gibraltar, that would affect the UK currency as well. I also referenced Gibraltar because of the lady in the tower. She's got all the 5 marks behind her. There's the shark hidden in the image. Can't get any bigger, but there's a shark hidden behind her in the image, just there, which represents, I think, a submarine. Potentially that submarine being involved in the detonation of the volcano. Again, I can't zoom in, but in this image here, there is a hidden submarine coming up out of this tsunami wave, which looks like the letter C, and that again seems to have some connections with why this volcano erupts and splits, potentially causing this tsunami, which could affect a UK territory, which could be Gibraltar. Now, the 5th of January is 12:23 on the Julian calendar. You can see the 7th of January is Christmas Day on the Julian calendar, so the 6th will be Christmas Eve, and the 5th would be 12:23. Now, in association with 12:23 on the lunar calendar, that is the 17th of January. So I was just looking at some of the images here to see if they possibly correspond with the images on the 5th of January, and some do. You've got the possible volcanic eruption reference, the Egypt reference, the tsunami flood reference just there, so those two correspond. You've also got the Big Ben Tower just here, the Obama shoe. The other image that corresponds that I didn't talk about is the fireworks exploding in the background. Now I think that, sorry, not that one, this one. Now I think that possibly has connections to November the 5th. The reason I say that is because the 5th of January, today, is the 11th lunar day on the lunar calendar. So we have a 5/11 reference, and when I think of that and fireworks, it's remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot. Now obviously we have to consider that all of that may actually come into an interpretation that I just spoke about, with the volcano erupting, a submarine potentially being involved, a tsunami affecting the region, Mediterranean region, and potentially wiping out UK territory. Gibraltar is very small. The other thing that connects for me is the same way we have the old lady in the image here. We have the tower in the image over here, which is the scene we see just before we go in with the old lady. And when I thought of that and I was thinking of the Gibraltar connection, I thought, does Gibraltar have a lighthouse? And it does. Let me quickly go to the interpretation here. So the lighthouse is strategically located at the southern eastern tip of the rock Gibraltar at Europa Point between the Atlantic and the Mediterranean, rising to 49 meters. It's a Masonic tower, as you can see, masonry tower with lantern and gallery. Skipping all of that and going to this point here. The tower is painted white with a single white-red horizontal band in the middle. The lighthouse has a white light which occults every 10 seconds. There is a continuous red light as well as occulting red light, which is on for 5.8 seconds and off for 4.2 seconds. In addition, a foghorn emits a blast every 20 seconds. So I had to go to the iPad Goat 2 video, and I'm going to have to play the sound. So I've got it as low as I can, but you guys might want to turn down your volume and then adjust accordingly. I think I'll give you enough time to do that. So first of all, you hear that sound is like a horn, it's like a foghorn, it's that kind of sound. And then we've got the white light occulting, and then as we get closer you can see that there's a red light in association with this. Obviously it's in the shape of a heart, but red light, white light, foghorn. Going back to the description of the lighthouse, that kind of fits in. The lighthouse has a white light which occults every 10 seconds. There's a continuous red light as well as an occulting red light which is on for 5.8 seconds and off for 4.2. So it's on, off. And you've got a foghorn which emits a blast every 20 seconds. So with that description in mind more clearly, I'll just go back so you can kind of get what I'm saying. And not only that, but I've spoken before about how the lighthouse is in the shape of a helmet, medieval helmet, with the chainmail effect, facing this way, visor open, Crusader cross on the top. That brings us to that region again, Italy, and connects us with the UK again, or at least British in terms of that kind of region. So I would say, even if it's not today, there is a big watch on that region, not only for the eruption and possible collapse of Mount Etna or Stromboli in the region, causing a tsunami there, but also the possibility of that completely wiping out a British territory, Gibraltar. Um, with all of that said, I hope and pray that none of that happens. These are just interpretations, and I just hope that they remain that way. But, you know, I'm just hopefully trying to warn people about what could potentially unfold. You know, it seems crazy, it's all taken from a cartoon, I realize that. But here we go. So, just very quickly as a final word, as I say, it's 12:23 on the Julian calendar, 12:23 on the lunar calendar is the 17th of January. So the images in these two may correspond, which is why I've used the images from both of them. I've seen which ones are the same, and I've seen ones that could possibly flow on from the other, as in we get the tower outside, possibly being the lighthouse on Gibraltar. Again, it seems like it's an island, even though it's a sort of like a man and a woman, or a man lying on his back and his front. Very confusing. It's in the middle of, it's on its own. It looks like it's in the middle of an ocean. So it's kind of like an island, it's separated from the rest, and that then moves on to the lady inside the tower. So it may all be connected, it may or may not be, I don't know. I'm just pointing out the interpretations. 12:23 here. We've also got the 5/11 reference for a November 5th reference. Remember the 5th of November. Of course, the other potential gunpowder treason and plot theory is the connection to Donald Trump. That may or may not be Donald Trump because of the Mike Pompeo interpretation from the Apple. However, watch Donald Trump, watch Mike Pompeo, watch Italy and Gibraltar, and the potential for tsunami and volcanic eruption in that region. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.